everybody. Welcome to FNS Wrestling Podcast. I am your host, back to talk some more Ring of Honor. A little bit late getting down to the studio today. I apologize. It is Labor Day Monday, so we went out to see some family that we haven't seen in pretty much a couple years now. Cousins of my wife who have a adorable little toddler boy and a newborn baby boy as well, so we hadn't seen them in quite a while, so we made the hour-and-a-half trip out there. And just got back late in the evening, finally sat down and finished ROH. Was going to go to bed, but I thought, no. I generally put these out on a Monday. I'm going to try and keep things consistent, so I snuck down here to the basement, hoping to get this recorded and published before midnight. Might be a little bit late, but we'll see. So if you're a new listener to FNS, welcome. If you're a returning listener, welcome back. Generally, my teenage son and I host a Saturday show where we talk about NXT and AEW Dynamite and Impact Wrestling and trivia and some wrestling action figures and stuff. But on Mondays, I generally come down here for what I like to call a solo mission, where I talk to a few loyal listeners about Ring of Honor. So it's Ring of Honor episode 520 this week, and I figure I don't need to banter too much because I do need to get this up and get to bed. But I do think tomorrow, Jack and I are planning to sit down and talk about AEW All Out. We did watch that last night, so I think we'll find some time tomorrow to sit down and share our thoughts and opinions about that and revisit our predictions and see how we did in our picks. But I think right about now, it's time to get into talking about some Ring of Honor episode 520. So this show starts with Quinn McKay back at her desk after a few weeks off because she was taking part in the women's tournament, but she has been eliminated, so she's back at her desk, and she's letting us know that tonight's show, the women's tournament, will continue with both of the semifinal matches on tonight's show. So the first semifinal is going to have Trish Adora taking on Miranda Alize, and in the second semifinal, it will be Angelina Love facing off against the teenage Rok C. So those are both of our semifinals tonight. Then in the main event, we're going to get Shane Taylor Promotions taking on LFI and what will be an 8-man tag team match under lucha rules. But basically, Quinn tells us that the one-time friends of Shane Taylor and Kenny King will be on opposite sides tonight in that main event. So we then get Trish Adora and Miranda Alize get to sort of cut what I call a brief back and forth promo before their match. So Adora starts out, she says that she understands the mission ahead and that Alize is looking to take her out. She sees her future and it's as the ROH Women's Champion. Alize says she respects Adora's grappling game and Adora was the first woman that Alize beat when she came to ROH and she will beat her again. Adora then talks about something about thinking like a chess player, trying to stay steps ahead, something about pawns and things as well. And that pretty much was it. It was pretty brief. I thought both of the women cut fine promos, but nothing really extraordinary or sort of groundbreaking. But they both seemed comfortable in their roles. So Alize has been playing a heel throughout the tournament, and I believe Trish Adora will be the babyface here. And so that leads us right into their match. So the first semifinals match of this tournament, which is Miranda Alize versus Trish Adora. So early on, Adora overpowers Alize, and Alize has to escape to the floor. Then she sort of does a lap around the ring on the floor, gets back in the ring. But I figured it was going to be one of those spots where then Alize takes control as Adora comes through the ropes, but she doesn't. Adora hits a hip toss and an arm drag, and then she tries to lock in the cattle mutilation early on, but Alize is able to escape. So Alize then a little bit later hits some back elbows, a hurricane rana, and a head scissors leading to a kick. And then she bites Adora's fingers in the corner, lands some shots to the body as well while Adora is in the corner. Then we get a backstabber by Alize after a couple of near falls sort of on the mat from Adora. Boots from the corner by Adora, but a headbutt and a DDT by Alize for a 2 count. Alize is then dumped to the outside. Adora follows her out, but it ends up a few stomps by Adora, but she's quickly it turned around and Adora gets run into the barricade by Alize. Then we head to a commercial, we come back, and both women are on the floor outside the ring and just sort of hop up and get back in the ring at 19 to avoid a double countout. We get a strike exchange in the middle, and Adora hits a crossbody. A corner splash begins to target Alize's arm. A full Nelson sort of slam, and then a sleeper applied by Adora down on the mat but Alize is able to get to the ropes to break the hold. Alize then counters Adora into a crossface, but Trish Adora rolls over into a near fall. Then a bit later, a head kick, swinging neckbreaker by Miranda Alize for a 2 count. Samoan drop by Adora for 2, and a submission applied with Adora sort of trapping both of Alize's arms behind her. Snapmare and a kick to the back of Adora's head by Alize. Ripcord high knee that looked pretty good. A cutter, and then the drive-by kick by Alize. I thought this might be the finish, but she doesn't even go for a cover there. Then Alize hits a head scissor right into a crossface, and eventually Trish Adora makes her way to the ropes. Alize drags her back to the middle of the ring, reapplies the crossface, and it's just too much for Adora, and she needs to tap out, and she does. So Miranda Alize wins the first semifinal and will advance obviously to the finals and take on the winner of the next match. So I thought this was a pretty good, most at times back and forth, although Alize definitely got more time on offense, but pretty competitive. I thought Alize looks like the more experienced wrestler of the two for sure. She kind of has a variety of impressive looking offense. And again, Adora didn't get a ton of offense in this match, but she did get a few chances along the way. I think Alize has looked better and better kind of as this tournament has gone on, and she seems to be one of the more experienced women in this tournament. It feels like there's some pretty inexperienced talent. Not that they're not good or don't have a lot of potential, and I think Adora is one of them. She has a lot of potential, and she has a really cool look. I think she just needs to get some more experience, some more matches, and she probably has a bright future ahead of her. Alize in this role really reminds me of Ivelisse, sort of in the ring and outside the ring at this point, as she's playing this heel character. So very reminiscent of Ivelisse, who I really like. So that's totally fine by me. I thought that this match got better as it went on, and kind of the more Alize was in control, I thought it looked good. So by the end, I thought it was a pretty entertaining match. Not bad for the first semifinal of this tournament, for sure. We then get to hear from the ladies involved in the next match, and the first person is Angelina Love. She gets her chance to speak ahead of her semifinals match. So she feels basically that there's a bit of a conspiracy here, and that Maria Kanellis has designed this tournament basically to get Angelina Love out, because she says no matter what way she went, she was going to have to face a monster, and she did face one in Max, and she ended up beating Max last week. Love goes on to say somebody has it out for her, and now she's injured after her match with Max, but she will eventually get the last laugh. Love says she's been wrestling longer than Rok C has been alive, and that is true, and that is a pretty crazy thing to think, as Roxy, I think, currently is 19, so obviously Angelina's been wrestling longer than that. And Angelina says she loves teaching these lessons on her way to winning her 8th World Championship. Rok C gets her chance to respond. She basically talks about her journey through the tournament, saying that she wasn't sure she could beat Sumi Sakai in the first round, but she surprised herself and did. In the second round, she then faced the talented Spitfire, as she says, Quinn McKay, and she pulled off that match as well somehow. She also makes mention of how Angelina Love has been wrestling longer than Roxy has been alive, and Roxy says the odds are clearly stacked against her, but they always have been, and the fans have always believed in her and called her a prodigy, and because of the fans and their belief, she has to go on to defeat Angelina Love and get to the finals of this tournament. I mean, Angelina Love is a pro. She almost always cuts really strong promos, I find, especially as a heel character, and this was no exception. She's just really comfortable in this role. I thought Roxy sounded really good too, despite being really young. She's really believable as this like naive, inexperienced babyface, and then you've got Angelina Love on the other side, who's the very experienced heel veteran looking to teach the young upstart a lesson. So I think this is like a really simple but effective story for these women to tell in their match, is that Angelina Love is just looking to stop this rookie from sort of advancing, and that she wants to use her experience to sort of dominate Roxy. But as well, Angelina Love is injured going into this match, so that may sort of even things a little bit, but let's find out. So we get Roxy versus Angelina Love in the match for the women's tournament semifinal. So at commentary, because they love to have guest commentators in ROH, we get Chelsea Green and Lenny Leonard. They join Ian Riccaboni on commentary for this one. And Angelina Love, as soon as she's out on the ramp making her entrance, she is selling a left shoulder injury. And she heard it when Max basically dropped her from the apron and she sort of landed awkwardly. And that was after Max was disqualified for not releasing a hold with Love in the ropes. That's actually how that match ended. Max had her in I think it was a sleeper, but they were inside the ring and Love was on the outside, and Max just refused to break the hold. The ref actually gave Max, I think, 2 5 counts. They still wouldn't break it, so Max got disqualified, and Angelina Love won that one. So we have the code of honor attempted by Roxy, but obviously not adhered to by the heel Angelina Love, as she never does. And we get a fast start by Angelina with boots and stomps as she is trying to protect her own sort of weakened left arm early on. There's a lucha-style takedown and a back handspring, a double knees to the midsection by Roxy that always looks pretty cool. Angelina then dodges a charging Roxy. Roxy sort of spills out onto the floor. So then Love obviously follows Roxy out, runs her into the barricade, and then the ring post, trying to, it looked like, target Roxy's arm because she's yelling about, oh, you want to target my arm sort of thing. So I think she's trying to do the same thing to Roxy at this point. Back in the ring, we get a side Russian leg sweep by Roxy. Both are down after we come back from a commercial break. They get up and we get a bit of a strike exchange. Thumb to the eye by Angelina Love to gain an advantage. And then kind of 2 really weak-looking clotheslines by Roxy where she didn't make a lot of contact, and it looked like Angelina was already falling back and taking the bump before the clotheslines ever got there. So I don't know whose fault it is, but neither of them looked very good. And then Roxy gets a Thez press. A little bit later, Angelina Love has to pull on Roxy's hair and then puts her in a DDT for a 2 count. Roxy counters Angelina Love's offense into a crossface, but Love sort of rolls that over into a pinning predicament for a 2 count. Roxy then counters into a Fujiwara armbar on that injured left arm, and Angelina Love has no choice but to tap out as Roxy is sort of surprised, and Angelina Love has to submit due to that injured arm, just can't take the punishment. So Roxy looks kind of shocked. She celebrates in the ring for a little bit, and Miranda Alize makes her way to the ramp to sort of stare down Roxy in anticipation of them meeting in the finals. So I thought this was a pretty good match. It felt kind of short to me. I don't know if Angelina Love is actually injured or if she's just selling, but this didn't feel like it got a ton of time to me. And I guess it works. Angelina Love gets to save some face as she lost to a 19-year-old, but she had a major injury. She can say it because she's a heel, so that'll fit into some heel logic, as that injured arm is really what ended up costing her the match. Love did some nice heel work, I thought, in this, like just pulling hair, thumbs to the eye, that sort of thing, just to get the advantage to sort of slow down Roxy. And then once, it was kind of predictable to me because once the heel Alize won in the first semifinal match, I had a feeling that Roxy would have to advance from this one to sort of set up a heel babyface dynamic in the championship. It would be sort of weird to have 2 heels face off in the finals of the match, so it sort of telegraphed Roxy winning. Not that that's really a big deal to me. I think Roxy's pretty amazing for her age, and I'm sure that ROH would love to sign her if she hasn't signed with them already. I thought this was a solid match that kind of had a built-in story that helped it, with the disparity in the experience between these 2 women, as well as the injured arm of Angelina Love. So I thought the match was solid, but I wouldn't call it spectacular by any means. I think I've seen better from both of these women, but it wasn't a bad match for sure. We then get, ahead of the main event, we get LFI get to cut a quick promo. Well, each group does, but LFI goes first. So they cut a promo ahead of their 8-man match that's coming up in the main event. Really, really short. Kenny King basically talks about that Taylor was taken out, sort of he was looking up at them the last time they faced off, and that tonight will be more of the same. And then Roosh gets a second to say that they will destroy everybody. So obviously it goes without saying these shows must be pre-recorded because Roosh is now out for the rest of the year, getting, I think it's knee surgery. So clearly they did a batch of recordings before that because he's involved in this match here. Shane Taylor Promotions then get to speak. It's really just Shane Taylor. He says he's been dealing with LFI for over a year, but it's always like 4-on-2 or 4-on-1. It's always a numbers game, not in his favor. But tonight it's going to be 4-on-4, and the LFI empire comes crumbling down at the hands of STP. So neither group, I don't have a ton of analysis on these. Neither group really got a chance to say much, but I always love Shane Taylor's intensity. I think he's one of the stronger promos in this company. I just find him believable whenever he says anything, kind of like Eddie Kingston in AEW, not to that level because I think Eddie's basically an all-timer, but Shane Taylor's really good on the mic. He didn't get to showcase much here, but his intensity was good, as it always is. So we get this 8-man tag team match, and it's lucha rules as well. So this match is pretty chaotic, if I'm being honest. LFI versus Shane Taylor Promotions. So Shane Taylor Promotions make their entrance first, and they sort of wait at the bottom of the ramp in front of the ring, facing up the ramp, and sort of call LFI on from there. LFI are quick to oblige them. They run down, and we all four are brawling. People are running to barricades and ring posts, and then security come down and try to gain control of these 8 men as we sort of head into a commercial break. We come back from the break, and order has been restored, and everybody's up on the apron looking like we're ready to start the match. They do point out, which I thought was interesting, that a second ref has been added because they've never done this before, and I guess it's just their reaction to LFI constantly cheating, constantly doing everything. So I guess they're going to try and put a second ref in to see if that will help at all. So King and Moses start out, and Kenny King lands a sucker punch after sort of making it look like he wants to go for the code of honor, but he sucker punches Moses there to get an advantage. A little bit later, Moses drives Kenny King into the corner, lands some chops and a corner splash. We get an atomic drop by Moses, and King escapes to the floor. Dragon Lee then tags in, and so does Khan. Or I don't know if they tagged in or they just come in because it's lucha rules. So if anyone constantly in this match, guys were rolling out of the ring or getting thrown out of the ring, and 2 new people would start. So Khan shoulder tackles, just take out Dragon Lee because there's a major size discrepancy there. Then there's a strike exchange, corner trip, and a quick kick to the head by Dragon Lee. It's one of his sort of signature things in the corner, just really, really fast, sort of takes your feet out from under you and then swings over and kicks you in the face. We get a boot exchange and a low bridge and a suicide dive by Dragon Lee. So O'Shea Edwards gets in at one point. He gets control of Dragon Lee and slams him kind of into the ropes or right beside the ropes. I think Dragon Lee's legs might have hit the ropes. But Bestia Del Ring runs in. So Bestia suplexes O'Shea Edwards, but O'Shea puts Bestia over his shoulder, runs him into the turnbuckles, and then slams him. Roosh and Taylor end up in the ring, and they sort of exchange strikes. We get some stiff forearms from Shane Taylor. He has some of the nicest looking forearms in wrestling. So that takes Roosh down for a minute, but Roosh responds with a German suplex. We then a little bit later get a double drop kick by Dragon Lee and Roosh to knock a couple guys to the floor. And then Moses looks like he was going to come off the apron for something, and they tell us that he got tripped and taken off the apron. I didn't really see it. It just looked like he sort of fell off of the apron. So he's down on the outside. So Taylor and Shane Taylor and Dragon Lee end up in the ring. They kind of have the nicest exchange of this match, I thought, before Shane Taylor hits his Marcus Garvey driver, which is basically like a package pile driver. But it looks like it's going to be a pinfall, but LFI dragged the referee out of the ring by his ankles to stop the count. We then get, pretty simply, just a low blow. Kenny King just kicks Shane Taylor low as the refs are sort of out checking on Moses, who's still on the floor. And that's enough, strangely enough, for Kenny King to pin Shane Taylor and win this 8-man tag team match with a kick, low, and a pin. So I gotta be honest, this match really under-delivered for me because on paper, this should be a pretty fun match. I don't even mind the lucha rules. I think that can be really fun when it's done well. But I just don't think this match had enough time, and it got just super chaotic. There was not much sustained action between anybody really at all in this, so I don't think anyone really got a chance to look good. The lucha rules and the limited time forced these guys to just switch the matchup so quickly, and guys constantly going out of the ring and new people coming in. It felt like nothing really got started. The match ended, and it felt like nobody really got to showcase much, and there's some awesome talent in this match. I love Dragon Lee. I love Shane Taylor. Most of Shane Taylor's promotion have really grown on me. I didn't think O'Shea Edwards looked particularly good, but I really like the other 3 in Shane Taylor promotions. Roosh didn't do much. Like, honestly, nobody did very much in this. It was just a car crash going a million miles an hour, and it's just 2 guys in, somebody gets thrown out, somebody else is in. There was no real sustained action between any 2 people, and it wasn't my favorite type of match, to be honest. This match was just a blur, definitely not my favorite Ring of Honor main event. I mean, other people may like this better than me. I don't know, normally I don't mind lucha rules, but it just seemed this thing was just going too quickly, and there wasn't anything that I could really grab onto. It just kept changing pairings and changing what was going on constantly throughout this. So it wasn't my favorite main event ever, for sure. Overall thoughts on this show, I would have to say, being honest, just an okay episode of Ring of Honor. I mean, both of the women's matches were solid. Neither of them were outstanding. And the main event, I thought, was a bit of a train wreck, going just far too fast and not enough time, and maybe too many people involved for the amount of time as well. Maybe 8 men in Lucha Rules with that little bit of time is just that formula did not work for me. So I'm hoping that's not something that they keep going back to. But who knows? Maybe other people liked it. So just for this show, there's nothing that I would say anybody needs to go out and see. But I also wouldn't say anything was really bad either. So to me, that adds up to a B-. I didn't waste my time watching this. That's tend to when I get into the C level where I feel like my time would be better spent doing something else. So I didn't mind watching this show, but I'm always hoping that there's something that I'm going to say you need to go out and see this, or this was fantastic. If you didn't see it, go find it. That's definitely not the case in this show. Nothing was really bad, although I have to say the main event was close to being bad for me. I just couldn't get into it. It was just a lightning flash of a match, and then it was over. But yeah, I'm going to give this show overall a B- for episode 520 of Ring of Honor. So I think that's going to bring me to the end of this review. It's pushing midnight, so hopefully I can get this thrown up on everywhere before then, so that I keep my streak of publishing these on Mondays alive. So again, thank you so much for taking any time to stop by and listen. If you'd like to contact us, I would love to hear anyone's thoughts on Ring of Honor, anything else on the quality of our podcast, any suggestions, anything you'd like us to review. You can reach us at fnswrestling@gmail.com, and I answer all of those emails. We're also on Instagram, FNS_wrestling_podcast. That is mostly my teenage son, but he'll let me know if anyone contacts us. Or if you're one of the few people that listens on YouTube, you can just put a comment in there. I promise I'll get back to you, maybe even give you a shout out on the show. I know, Kevin, I know you're listening to this, so I appreciate your comments and everything you've been saying, the likes and the comments. It is really nice to hear from actual people that are listening to us talk about this, so I appreciate it quite a bit. But anyways, as I said, keep an eye out for a AEW All Out review, possibly tomorrow, and then we'll definitely be back Saturday with episode 60 of the flagship show. So hopefully I'll see you all then, and until then, have a great night and take care.